Welcome to the land of the giant no-shoulders. In August of 1972, I flew from the world, as we called it, to the land of the giant no-shoulders, South Vietnam. I was on a chartered flight, Tiger Airlines. We hopped from Oakland to Fairbanks, or was it Nome? And then we went to Nippon. I don't know where we were in Japan, but then we flew to Ton Son Nhut, South Vietnam. I had a great seat next to the stewardess. I could stretch my legs, and there was a stewardess that sat next to me, and we just had a good time talking. Never knew her name, never asked. But after we had stopped in Alaska, we were admonished by the pilot to take the same seats we had originally when we reboarded. Well, there's this white dude that he had took my seat, and he just did not like the fact that I was sitting next to a white woman. The stewardess had to call the pilot to get the fella to move, as he was ready to fight, and I was ready to oblige him. But after that, the flight was uneventful. When we finally got to Vietnam and disembarking at Ton Son Nhut Airbase, the wind was about 20 to 25 miles per hour, and the temperature was about 120 degrees. I felt at home. It was so hot that sweat popped on my skin within seconds, and I was soaked before I even got down to the tarmac. It was so hot that I could feel the heat through the soles of my boots, and my feet sweated. You could smell the cordite in the distance, and you could smell the oils and the different gases that were being used and solvents, and it was hot. It was hot, and it felt like the concrete was waiting for the rains to come. I noticed a small boy about 8 or 9 outside the chain link fence who was calling me. He was saying, "Brother man, brother man," and I didn't know what he was talking about, but he was adamant. "Brother man, I got number one sister, number one," and I really didn't catch his meaning, but he was pimping his sister. I smiled and refused to offer. Now, after signing in, later on, I requested a post at Long Beach Jail to work in a drug rehab unit. And it took a while to get an answer. A few days later, I found out that my request was denied. So I looked around for something else to do because I did not want to pound the ground. I wasn't trying to be a grunt. So I found that they were looking for medics to fly dust off, the helicopter rescue, helicopter ambulance units, which was very dangerous. Life expectancy for medevac wasn't long. But I got a slot, and a few days later I landed at An San Heliport. That's not the name of it, can't think of it right now, but it was on a small hill about 3 or 4 miles inland from An San, which was a small town on the coast of the South China Sea. So I went there, and it was all right, but when you got off the ship, you smelled nothing but JP4, which is jet fuel that was used in the helicopters. And of course, you smelled the engine oil and other gases, and you could hear the beating of just many of the helicopters, maybe 50 or 60 at a time, maybe, I don't know, I wasn't counting them. but you could hear the sound of them echoing off the tarmac. Our unit was stationed, at least we were parked uh, 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 further from the uh, attack unit. So, it being a medical unit, we were we were shunted off to the side. When I got off the helicopter, I ran into a fellow named Richard Lynn. Brother Lynn and I, we knew each other because we had advanced training at Fort Sam. Brother Lynn had got there a little bit before me, I'd say about 2 weeks, because I went home uh, after my training at Fort Sam in San Antonio. I went home for a couple weeks, and before I caught my flight to go to Vietnam. Brother Lynn took me to my seat, well, to my hooch, to my room, and later that day I checked out the wares at this makeshift village right outside the gates. As I headed to the gate, there was a flight wing was taking off. There were some loaches. These looked like bumblebees. There's, little round helicopters that were very quick and very fast. They had miniguns, and some of them even had some rockets on them. And they were used to draw fire, which meant that they would swoop down and they would go in and out in the valleys and the trees, and they would uh, uh, draw fire from, the enemy. And when they would draw fire, then the Hueys, the slicks would come in, and they were ground support and attack ships, and they would come in with their miniguns and 60 caliber machine guns and rockets, and and they would get into the fray and draw more out, and then the Cobras, which were very fast attack ships, they would come in and they had more rockets, more guns, and they would come in last, and they were very deadly. Uh, as they would take off, I mean, the noise was deafening as you would hear these helicopters take off. But it was the synchronicity. They would all rise at the same time, and they would nose down, and they would come up like that. I mean, they would be looking at the ground as they're taking off, and they would pull torque, which would mean they would increase their power, and they would kind of shake you. When you're inside, they'd be shaking as they're pulling torque, and they'd all move forward like uh, 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 like dragonflies, just going like that, and they take off, and they would, after they'd give full power, as they were nosing, they'd increase speed very fast, and then they'd rise up, and it was something to watch. It was something really to watch. This was really my first or my earliest memories of Vietnam.